Hello, awesome people. Dingle's back here with another tutorial on LawMaker, or how to make a level in Outlaws. So as you may recall, the last episode we ended up with these three rooms here, and we've also got these two doorways to connect them. Now what I want to take you through in this episode is just a general outdoor area. Nothing too flash right now, and if we get the time, we'll also go through creating a roof for this building here. So we've got this wall here. And also, just a side note, if you ever find that your wall is off the screen here, you could just, grab this and move it down. But a much quicker way to do that is just hit the X key on your keyboard, and that will bring your wall to the center of the screen, which is a lot easier. Okay, we're going to create this new door just like we made these doors before. So insert key twice, and then go into vertex mode. And I'm thinking we should make this door a little bit wider than these two, seeing as it is the doorway to the outside of the house. So let's hit the X key to center that in. And you do remember, this doorway was three squares wide. Let's go down here and make, say, 6 squares wide. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now to create the doorway, we are going to hit the extrude key, which is E. There we go. I'll make the grid a little bit smaller and move this wall up here. Now it's important to note, I didn't mention this in the last tutorial, but if you look closely, let me zoom in, like that wall. You'll notice that this wall is a slightly darker green than the other walls. And you'll notice the same thing with these doorways up here that we extruded before. The reason for this is because these walls have been adjoined. When you adjoin these walls, that's what allows you to walk through them. That's just another side note. I'll explain it a little bit more when we get to our outdoors area, or you'll see it work. Okay, back to our door. So that doorway is pretty much done. Let's hit the extrude key again. And this creates our outdoors area. So we can just drag this down a little bit. I'm going to zoom out. And I'll move this wall down here. This will be the basis of our outdoors area. What we really need to do here is wrap these two walls around the exterior of our interior. To do that, we need to create some more vertexes here. So just while in vertex mode, it does work in vertex mode too, it works in any mode, hit the insert key a bunch of times. Okay, I've hit that 5 times. That looks alright. I'll hit it 5 times with this one selected as well. Beautiful. Okay, so as stated, you basically need to wrap this around that. So I'll start with this one. We'll move this vertex over to this corner, right there. And then grab this one, and move that one all the way up here. Now you notice this is where it starts to get a little bit confusing because you get all these overlapping lines. To sort of counter that, just grab these and move them out as you work. This just makes it a lot easier. And it gives you that sort of sense of an outdoor area as you're building it. Now just continuing along, I'll select this one, move it across to here. Now, another good thing to do is just to keep inserting these vertexes as you go along just to make it a little bit easier for yourself, because it's easy to really get lost if you do this the wrong way. If you don't take your time and do it properly, it gets pretty confusing quickly. Move this one. Actually, I'll insert a couple more here. Move that one there. Move this one down here. And then, to close it off, I'll grab this one down here. Put that there. And that is the outside of our house. Not done, but the walls are pretty much in place now. So what we need to do is close this gap here, which is pretty easy. You just grab to this vertex here, put it anywhere, and then just grab this vertex, put it on top of that one. And that is our general outdoor area. Now you can make this a bit fancy. I'm just going to make the grid a bit bigger here. Just play around with the vertexes, try and get the shape you want here. This is completely, up to you. I'm just going to do a little bit of sprucing up here. Okay, I think that looks pretty good there. Now let's go in the game and see what we have at this point. So let me save that map, hit the test. Okay, rotate around. That's the door we had before. And here is our new door. Now you're probably thinking, this doesn't really look like an outdoors area right now. And that's because we've only really made the shape here. And you'll notice this wall here, like I was saying before, is not adjoined. So we can't walk through that and we can't see through that. But that's the shape of our house so far. So firstly, what we should do now is go into wall mode and select one of either of these two walls here. Firstly, notice that this wall is a light green, just like all the other walls. We select it, hit the A key, and it's now a dark green wall. So let's hit the save button and look at that. And now we can run around the house freely. But this still looks like an indoor area. Now, because this is a new sector, we need to edit the properties of this sector to make it look like an outdoor area. So let's zoom out a little bit, and I've got the sector selected in sector mode here. And as we did before, we hit the tab key. Now, within this, there's a few things we have to change here. First thing I usually change is the ceiling Y. So right now it's set to 16, which is the same as the ceiling of the inside of the house. But we want to make the sky a little bit higher. So I'd say a good number to put here would be 50, but you can choose whatever you want. The next thing we need to change is the texture of the floor. So you can just use one of the outdoor textures, and I'm going to use BF Dirt 1. Yep, hit OK there. Now that we've changed the floor to be dirt, let's go ahead and change the floor sound to dirt, which will be back here. Okay, now another important thing we need to take note of is we need a sky for this outdoor area. Obviously, it is outdoors. So, scroll down. Down here, you can see a flag property. Go into that flag property and double click. You see a whole bunch of flags here. We're not going to use all of them right now. But what we will use is the sky one. This will tell the game that the ceiling is a sky, and it will render it as a sky. Which also brings me to my next point. We need to put a sky texture up there. Let's go back to ceiling and choose a new texture. Double click that, go into all ceilings, and let's look through some of the sky textures. There's a few to choose from. I'm going to go with this one. I like this one. Okay, let's hit commit. Save the map and let's join or test it out. Okay, turn around, take a look. And it's starting to look a bit like an outdoor area. So the next thing I'd like to fix is this doorway, because obviously it goes right up to the ceiling and it doesn't really look like a door. So same as before, make sure this one is selected. Press the space bar to multi-select it. And we'll go off one of these doors like we did before. Hit the tab key. Go to ceiling Y. Make sure that's selected. Hit the enter key. Then hit commit. And that should now be a proper doorway. Now, just because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, I'm going to go ahead and lower the floor of the outside. This is just so it looks like the floorboards are a bit more 3D, so to speak. So to do that, select this outdoor sector, hit the tab key, go over to floor Y, and I'm just going to change that to -1. Very good. Now we need to set up some wall textures now. And just like before, we will just go around and multi-select these walls. Now the reason I'm not using the sector to select all of them is because we want different textures on the outside of the house than what we want. So now that I have all of these selected, the tab key, go into middle texture, and we will change this to, I think that one looks good. Okay, double click, save. And now we'll go ahead and do the house texture. So we'll go around and multi-select these. Hit the tab key. Go to middle texture. And I think I'm going to go with this one. Now, because we have doors, we will need to right click on the middle texture and copy it to top and bottom. Hit the commit button, map save, and test. And now it's starting to look like a building in an outdoor area. Now you're probably noticing that this texture here is out of line. It's out of whack compared to the rest of them. Don't worry about that too much for now. We'll go back and fix that later. I'll do that in a future tutorial where we will go through and use the Outlaws in-game editor, which is a very handy tool if you're going to fix up textures like that. So I think the next step we should take now is to create the roof of this house. Alright, so how are we going to do this? First, I'll unselect all of these. Now what we need to do is create a sector that sits on top of this. Now this is where the layer function comes in. Remember, I did mention we'd look at this in a later tutorial. Now, the layer function is more or less a tool that is helpful for map designers. So what we need to do is select a wall on the outside of the house. It can be any wall really, preferably one without a door on it. And we will hit the extrude key like we did with the doors before. That's created a new sector here. Now, what I'm going to do is go into sector mode and have that sector highlighted. Then hit the tab key. And within the properties, go down until you find layer, which is actually at the very bottom. Change layer 1 to layer 2. Hit commit. And you'll notice everything else just got grayed out. And that's because this automatically changed layer 2. To scroll through the layers, you can use these buttons here, the arrows. So if I want to go back to layer 1, I'd press the down button. Go back up to 2, I'd hit the up button. But this lets us freely change this sector around without interfering with the other sectors. So what I'll do is I'll go into wall mode and I'll try and match up these walls to this sector, this new sector. So I'll drag this wall. Well, let's make the grid a little bit smaller to make it easier. Drag this wall out to here. So it's above. We'll make the grid a little bit smaller. So it sits above that line there. Now, select this wall and insert a couple of walls here. Then I'll grab this vertex, move that down there, this one over here, that one there. What we need to do to join all of these walls to the other walls from the outside of the house. But we're not ready to do that yet because this wall is actually 3 walls, whereas in the layer 2 it's only 1 wall. We need to actually line that up. So let's hit insert. I'll zoom in so you can see a little bit better. And then match these vertexes up to the door. Then we can go back into wall mode, start adjoining these walls. Quick way to do that would be multi-select. Just go around and select all these walls, then hit the A key, and they should all adjoin. But we're still not finished here. We also need to make the floor above the ceiling of the inside of the house. That way it can actually be a roof. So let's go into sector mode. Hit the tab key and make sure this one is selected. Now if I recall, the inside of the house had a ceiling of 16. So we need to make the floor something greater than 16 because this is the roof of the house. So the floor, while keeping the ceiling at 50, because that's still the sky, we'll make the floor 18. That sounds good. Hit commit, map save, test. Let's see what we got. And that's pretty much perfect. We now have a roof of the house, and if I hit all shadows and actually jump up there, walk around on it. Okay, so I'll leave it at that for now. If you've got any questions, further questions on that, feel free to comment. I know you guys have already got some questions that you've put on there, and I will try and go through and answer them, if not in a video later on. Later on, we will go through and do this roof again, but we're going to make it a sloped roof, kind of like a triangle with a point on the top. But like I said, a later tutorial. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, and peace out.